keep processing, and the lessons you learned on the Camino, you keep using, and then you're building on those every time we've been back. Every Camino's different.
What we like to say and tell people is there's the Camino that you planned, and then there's the Camino that you actually have. So our thought was, well, it's been so meaningful for us to walk the Camino. Let's try to help other people who want to walk. So that's when we started the website, wrote the guidebook. Part of the Camino blessing, I would say, is just learning yourself from the discovery of what there is to know. Your hardest day on the Camino beats your best day at work. I mean, there's nothing easy about the Camino, we don't think, but it's very rewarding. And so I would say, don't rush and don't try to walk somebody else's Camino, walk yours.
Hello, pilgrims. We are here at another episode of the Way to Your White podcast. And today we have an honor to have Helen and Wick. They have a web page that is caminoprovisions.com, where they help other pilgrims on their pilgrimage to get prepared for this great adventure. And they have other things that we're going to be talking about, like books, and they have a lot of information that they're going to be sharing with us. If I'm not mistaken, the first Camino that they did was in 2007. Is that correct?
That is right.
That's right, 2007.
Okay,
Yep.
So welcome again, Helen and Wick, and tell me, how are you doing today?
We're great.
We're doing great. It's a beautiful day here in North Carolina where we live.
Okay. What part of North Carolina do you live?
Greensboro.
Greensboro?
Not too far from you.
Not far from you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Here in Holly Springs, North Carolina, close to Raleigh.
Yeah.
Area.
Yeah.
So it's been nice to be with you today. So the first question that I'm going to be asking you, in that first Camino that you walked in 2007, I understand that, were you alone or you were with your son?
We had our son with us who was 18 years old. He was in his last year of high school. And we decided, when we heard about the Camino de Santiago, it was probably about February of 2007. And immediately, I just knew in my spirit that we were supposed to walk it as kind of one final trip with our son before he left the nest.
Okay.
And but it took Wick 2 or 3 months for God to work on him and convince him that we were supposed to walk it. He didn't know how he could be away from his office for that
period
much
of time. Right.
But he finally said he felt like he could be away for about 3 weeks.
4 weeks.
Okay. And so that's what we did. We started in mid-September and went through mid-October of 2007. But the three of us we were not able to stay together for the whole time. So that's another part of the story.
Okay. Yeah. And then, Wick, this is a question for you. How were you convinced? What made you, Helen, convince you about walking at the Camino at that time?
Well, I think that, in addition to liking the idea and getting more information helped me. And then talking to my partner about it and getting his buy-in that it would be okay to be gone for 4 weeks. And at that point, then it was just a matter of getting ready to go. And again, there wasn't a whole lot of information back then.
Yeah. At that time, the information was not like we have it right now, that we have social media and all that. And even the mobile devices at that time were not as popular as they are today.
No.
They were not with the screen that right now, your smartphone, that you can do anything.
Right.
And plus the roaming, because at that time, they charge roaming if you use that overseas.
Yeah. Efrain, when we walked the Camino for the first time, and if we needed to use internet for some reason, we had to find an internet cafe. People probably don't even remember these. You would go up to the desk and pay an amount to use a computer for 30 minutes, and they would give you a number. You'd go sit down at a computer and type the number in and use it for 30 minutes, and it'd shut off. Or there'd be a computer, you'd put euro coins, like a vending machine, to use a computer. Yeah, and flip phones. All we had were flip phones. Yeah.
Okay. And do you have any paper map at that time for the Camino?
We did have John Brierley's book.
Yes.
And his guidebook is a classic that probably people have heard of. And that was the only one we knew of at the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the maps were good. I mean, they were helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
And on the trail, we were on the Camino Frances, and it was well marked.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, and today nowadays it's even better.
Yes.
Oh, I know.
Yes. It's just gotten better and better for the waymarks and yeah.
Yeah. So I have a podcast previous to that one, probably like a 10 to 15 episodes prior, where I spoke with a nephew from the priest that started working on the Yellow Arrow.
That's right. I watched that one.
Oh, you watched that one? So,
when you told us about it, so I watched it. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And then, so you mentioned that you were not together all the time. Can you explain a little more about that?
Well, I don't know if any of your listeners have walked any of the Camino yet, but we started in Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, and the first day we were following the guidebook, which I recommend people not to do. You know, you need to figure out what your pace is and walk your pace. Don't try to follow the guidebook, except for the map. But so we were in pretty good shape.
We thought.
We had practiced, even at the time we were living in Florida. So the only way we could practice hills was to go to the YMCA and put the treadmill on an incline and practice. But so going that first day from Saint-Jean to Roncesvalles is a very challenging day physically, because you go, what's the elevation, Wick?
Well, 4,000 feet, basically.
You change elevation about 4,000 feet, but it's in a very short,
8 kilometers.
Like 8 kilometers. So it's a pretty steep ascent. But anyway, probably 3 or 4 hours into the walk, the two of us realized we're not going to be able to walk 500 miles, 800 kilometers.
We only had 24 days to walk.
In the amount of time we had, we knew we weren't going to be able to do it. But we knew our son would be able to do it.
Okay.
So we tried to stay together for about 4 days.
Until we got to Pamplona.
Yeah. And then we realized we just need to let him go. And to keep up with our schedule, we would get on a bus and go ahead as much as we needed to so that we could, stay to our schedule. And also, it turned out I had a stress fracture in my foot. Oh. So I was in a lot of pain. But anyway, we just realized that we needed to let him go at a faster pace that he could do, and we would go at the pace we could go. So we separated, and we bought one little cheap flip phone for us and one little cheap flip phone for him at the Vodafone store. And because back then there weren't these eSIM capabilities or anything. So we thought, well, if he needed to call us for some reason, he could. But of course, we didn't know. Now thinking back on it, I'm thinking, well, what could we do to help? He'll be better off just asking some person on the Camino for help. that's why we separated, because we were going different paces. So.
Were you able to arrive to Santiago all together?
No, I ended up. The pain in my foot got worse and worse, and I got a diagnosis of a stress fracture and realized I just had to stop walking. I was in such pain. So I told, Wick didn't want to leave, let me go, but I said, well, you can keep walking and you can qualify and get your Compostela. Back then, you had to walk from Sarria to Santiago. Now that's changed, but so I said, let me just go on the bus. So I went on by myself on the bus and got to Santiago, went to a store and bought crutches to get off my foot. And then he came in. I greeted him in Plaza Obradoro when he came in. So, and then Hunter came in a couple of days after that. Okay. So we reassembled in Santiago.
Yeah. So
that's good. And that's first time once you arrived to the plaza.
Yes.
How were your feelings?
Oh, well, it was, mine, of course, because I couldn't walk in. I was very sad. And, but 17 years later, I could. I did walk in. In 2022, we walked all 500 miles. Okay. Because we had enough time, 52 days.
Right.
And so we got to the plaza, and I was just weeping because it had taken so long to get there for me. I'll let him answer the question for him. That first 2007 one, he walked in. So.
It's obviously it's a wonderful feeling and of accomplishment, and also just you kind of, it's hard to believe that you have actually it's ending. Yeah. And one of the things that we've recognized is returning home is still part of the Camino. And, you
keep processing.
And the lessons you learned on the Camino, you keep using. And then you're building on those every time we've been back. Every Camino's different. Mm-hmm. And from our perspective, we come from a Christian spiritual perspective. So we feel like God's continually working on us and trying to transform us into the people he wants us to be. Yeah. And he's used the Camino mightily and our family for that.
Yeah, I would say exactly like that. So the Camino is changing all the time. And all that you learn actually there, you can apply it to your real life.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And even at work, I'm pretty sure that you have used skills that you learned there at work as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Every part of your life. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I have a question then talking about work. What would you recommend what you have learned at the Camino to a leader that is working in any corporation?
How would we recommend the Camino to someone who's a leader in his company? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So what's going to be the beneficial for someone that is a leader?
How would it benefit? Okay. Yeah. You want to answer that?
Well, I think that first and foremost, every person's different, but it would be, can you set a goal and accomplish the goal? And so obviously as leaders in a business, that is something that we are always doing. The next thing would be, can you do it physically? Because the Camino is very mental also. Yes, you have the physical part, but it's getting up day in and day out, putting one foot in front of the other. Not unlike when you're leading a company, you're doing, that you're get up every morning and you've got the challenges of the day. If anything, the Camino's kind of a relief because you don't have to think about a whole lot. You get up in the morning and all you're going to do is you're going to walk and eat, right?
And sleep.
And sleep. And that's pretty much it. So you don't have to do a tremendous amount of planning.
I think for Wick, one of the big lessons I have heard him talk about learning on that very first one is you do have to make a plan, but then you realize if you can't stick to the plan, you have to live in the present. So you have to be aware of the present and live in the present with an eye towards a goal, wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you don't have control over whether if you were to have an injury. I mean, there are things that happen that may change your circumstances, but that doesn't mean that it's not a successful Camino.
Right.
Correct.
About what time? A little after 8 in the morning.
I'm really glad that you just say that because I just uploaded an interview from someone that works in REI, and he mentioned exactly that even if you do not complete the whole Camino or the whole hiking, that doesn't mean that you do not accomplish the goal.
Yeah.
Because you have to adapt it. Like in your case, you were injured, Helen, but you still went into the plaza in another media, but you still go there.
Right.
That's right.
Well, what we like to say and tell people is there's the Camino that you plan, and then there's the Camino that you actually have. And they aren't necessarily the same. But as you say, it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It just means that you accept the change that you have no control over, and you look for the good in it.
That's right.
And there's usually good in anything. So
yeah, sometimes that happened to me, to the people that I've been leading, that sometimes they feel frustrated because they don't make the 100%, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they fail.
Right.
They have circumstances that made that they were not able to accomplish that 100%.
Right.
That's right.
So I always was telling my team when that happened, just see why were you not able to accomplish that, and just maybe that you justify that enough that we can make an exception and we give you the 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, what we learn to do more and more every time we go on the Camino is we learn to celebrate every day for what happened, even if it's not according to plan. So I think that's a good way to live when you're back home too.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. A small winnings make a big winning.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And since then, since 2007, how many Caminos have you walked?
I had a feeling you were going to ask that question, so I really tried hard to add them up. I think it's around 10.
That's what I would have said also.
But, we haven't kept track. But we have been back about 10 times.
Yes.
And we have walked sections of several of the most popular routes. We've walked sections of the Norte, around San Sebastian, Arun, and then all along the way we walked some sections of the Norte. We walked some sections of the Inglés and some sections of the Portuguese out of Porto.
Okay.
So we've probably spent more time on the Camino Frances than any of the other routes, but we haven't necessarily walked all 500 miles of the Frances. So.
We only did in 2022 when we had the time, we did the entire Frances.
Okay.
Other times we've done sections of it. Again, one of our favorite places is crossing the Pyrenees. Even though it's very, very hard, it's just gorgeous, as you know. And
well, I don't know if Efrain is.
have you crossed?
No, I've been in there, but I have no walk.
Okay.
But
He's
I've been in
been on
Santiago de Compostela and Roncesvalles as well.
Oh, okay.
But without walking. But
Yeah,
my wife, she wanted to walk it, and I believe that she's gonna go in the future. I don't know when, but she's.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that there you do find sections that you really enjoy, and then you feel like, yeah, I'd like to go back. And so we have done that. We've also there's a Christian hospitality place in Santiago called Pilgrim House.
Yeah. Do you know about Pilgrim House, Efrain? It's
No.
on Rua Nova. So it's very close to the cathedral.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just a free, like Wick said, hospitality place,
Okay.
Pilgrim House, and it you can go there. It has furniture in it, kind of like a living room in the front room. So it's a good place to meet up with friends you've met as you've walked.
Okay.
And you can fix a cup of tea or coffee in their little kitchen. They'll do your laundry. You can consign your bag, your backpack, if you want to do that. So you can go to the cathedral because, you can't take backpacks into the cathedral.
Yeah.
And then they have a back room that they kind of call their meditation room, their quiet room. And it's a good place for reflection, writing in your journal or prayer. So it is, and they answer a lot of questions. It's not a place to stay. It's not an albergue, but they can answer a lot of questions about Santiago, or they can help if you need boarding passes printed for some reason.
Okay.
Most people have them on their phones now, but they'll print a boarding pass. You can use a computer there.
Okay.
So it has some nice things about it. But anyway, we've known the people who were the team that started that, and so we've been going to them like for 12, 14 years, something like that.
Yeah.
That's really good. Have you been also in the Finisterre?
Yeah. Now we took a bus to Finisterre. We didn't walk to Finisterre, but
it's nice to go see it. And then the other town that we really like is Muggia.
We really love
Muggia, yes.
Muggia.
We feel like it's just really special.
Yeah.
Yeah. And see from there, when I went there, I rent a car to go over there.
Right.
And
Yes.
when I was there, the view that I have from the top of those rocks when you see the ocean,
I know.
it's amazing.
It is.
It is.
Really beautiful.
Very meaningful place. Both of those places are very meaningful.
They are.
Yes. And can you tell us a little bit about what you are doing currently with the Camino?
Yes. So after we had walked the first time, it just stayed with us. We kept thinking about it. And we made so many mistakes on that very first one because we just didn't know. We didn't know anybody to ask questions. We didn't have a source to learn. So I said to Wick, why don't we try to help people who, like us, if we had somebody to talk to or ask questions to help us, I would not have put 36 pounds worth of stuff in my pack, which caused my stress fracture in my foot. And, just there were some things, if we had known, it would have, the trip would have been more smooth
better
for us. And then there's some people who just are so afraid because they don't know much that they won't even try. So our thought was, well, it's been so meaningful for us to walk the Camino. Let's try to help other people who want to walk. So that's when we started the website, wrote the guidebook, and it's not a guidebook with maps. I want to quickly say that. It's more of just helping you, give you an idea of what to expect.
Good information.
And how to plan. But I would say then social media kind of started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and people were able to go on social media and have conversations, ask questions. And so we've gotten more into YouTube, having a YouTube channel with informational videos, or videos that are more like travelogue, documentary videos, and then on Facebook we put videos as well as just inspirational quotes with some of the photography I've done, and it's just a way of educating people about the Camino, to get them over the fear of the unknown, but not tell them everything. I don't believe in telling them everything, because part of the Camino blessing, I would say, is just learning yourself from the discovery of what there is to know. But then there's a certain amount of entertainment in seeing photographs and sharing stories, and we just hope we can inspire people and educate people and encourage people.
And there are a fair number of people that after they've walked the Camino, I think part of their processing is to share their experiences with other people. To see, Helen does a beautiful job with photography and videography, and that, she has a lot of beautiful posts that people can enjoy.
Well, it reminds people of their own
experience.
And
and so we have there, and we're continually learning more from the comments that we get, that then, we're able to share with other people. So it's really, I think that's what we would say. I mean, it's mostly, to be truthful, it's a labor of love from our perspective, because we really do want people to have the kind of experience we did. It was life-changing for us in a very positive way.
Yeah, I like to say life-giving.
That too.
And I see a lot of pictures from you, and those are amazing. And I see also that can be printed in different kind of material surfaces.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So I would say we started the social media and the website for the reasons I've said, and we continue those for the reasons, same reasons. And it's just been fun. I mean, we just have the best, most clever, most fun fans out there, and it's just a wonderful community of people, and we love it when we're in Spain on the Camino and people recognize us. That is really fun. I mean, we haven't gotten used to that yet, but we'll be somewhere on the Camino, and we don't know anybody over there except the few people in Santiago that we've known for a few years. But somebody will say, "Helen, Wick," and we'll turn around, and they're so excited to meet us, and we're excited to meet them too. But it's like, we have to really pay attention to what we're doing and make sure we're behaving ourselves.
Yeah. It's amazing. I'm getting involved in the Camino as well, day by day.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying so much my work. I could say that this has been my best job ever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
that's great.
You have around you a lot of energy. There is another podcast where I interview an artisan from Spain, and she said that for her it was unbelievable that every person that stopped on her stand was telling her, "Well, this is my best day, my best day of my life." And
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
said, "If they are feeling that way, that means that the Camino should be something really good."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I did a post one time. I need to probably repost this because it was fun for people to see. Your hardest day on the Camino beats your best day at work. I mean, there's nothing easy about the Camino, we don't
Yeah,
think, but it's very rewarding in the
correct.
ways we've talked
It
about.
is.
Yes. And then that experience, we didn't talk about that. The experience that your son was walking on that Camino when he was at the last year of high school. What was his experience at that time?
You know, he was about to go away to college, and so I think Europe has a tradition. A lot of students finish their high school. I don't know what it's called in some places, secondary school, whatever. And then they take a year off and travel, called a gap year. And then they decide what they're going to do, to study for their careers and that sort of thing. And so we thought, well, this would be a time, and the fact that it ended up being just him by himself and meeting all the people you meet on the Camino from all over the world. And here he was, one of the youngest people, because by the time we were walking in the fall, the three of us, a lot of the high school and college students who go on the Camino when they're off school in the summer holidays, they had already gone. So he was one of the youngest ones out there walking. And so he had a wonderful experience
He did.
of what it is to be on his own and be responsible for everything on his own. I think we would talk maybe for 5 minutes, like as we were all going to bed for the night. We weren't in the same cities, but he would just say, well, I'm in a place called whatever, Torres del Rio, or wherever he was. And we'll say, okay, good. Well, we're in Leon, or,
Okay.
and so there was that maturing that happened. But also, he had a real encounter with the Lord on that walk. Would you like me to tell that story?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. He's colorblind, so he sees red, green, brown, all the same.
Okay.
So he can see the blue and yellow waymarks, the yellow arrows and the blue backgrounds. He can see those really well. And when we walked in 2007, there were not that many other pilgrims at that time of the year walking.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
much lower numbers.
so he was by himself. We were separated. He was by himself walking, and it was in an area of farmland, and he was on the Camino. And but then all of a sudden, the road, the dirt road he was walking on, just stopped, and he looked around. He was lost in his thoughts or prayers or something, and he realized, I have no idea where I am, and the road just ended here. And so he didn't know, he wasn't sure what to do. And being an 18-year-old teenage young man, he wasn't about to backtrack. I mean, I want to figure out how to keep going forward and find the next city. And so he prayed, and, Lord, I really need your help here. I'm lost. Well, right then he looked up and looked around, and it was like a path of blue and yellow wildflowers appeared. And they didn't appear before his eyes, but he noticed them. And he said, well, I've been following blue and yellow all this time. I'm going to follow these flowers. So he followed those flowers, and he had to kind of slide down prickly hillsides every so often. But anyway, he kept following the flowers, and then he could hear traffic. So he kept going towards the place where there was highway. He could hear cars, and he just followed that in, and that got him to the city. But it was kind of a divine rescue,
Yeah.
Well, the name of the Camino Provisions name that we have taken for the name of what our little business, if you want to call it that, comes from the saying on the Camino: when people need something, they've lost something, they need a directions or something like that, people say, well, the Camino provides. And then somehow you have what you need, whatever. And so Camino Provisions is, we got that name from that saying. And so in this case, the Camino provided the rescue. God provided a rescue for him to find his way to the city using blue and yellow flowers. So.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I have another interview. Well, that interview is not still live, but on that interview, the person say that she always wanted to have fruits with her when she was walking to have something to eat.
Yeah.
And there was a day that she forget about it and no fruit with her. And when she was walking the Camino, she said that she found like a different type of fruits, and she was very happy because I say I didn't bring it with me. I just see it on the ground.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or somebody, we were walking along one time, and I was wishing I had a snack, and there was a man out at the gate of the driveway into his property, and he had a handful of almonds. He had just picked them off his almond tree, and he was cracking them with his hands, cracking them together, and handing and offered some to us. And I was like, well, thank you very much.
Okay, that's nice. Well, we're getting to the end of the podcast today, and any tips that you would like to add for someone that would have not walked the Camino, that would like to walk that Camino? What would you say?
You want to answer first?
Well, I think that again today a little bit of planning is helpful, and that we really do like John Brierley's guidebook. Particularly if you're doing the Francais. We also think that ultimately it's just a matter of, we believe your Camino starts when you decide you're going to do a Camino.
Yeah, before you get to Spain.
Right. So, we recommend to people that as soon as they believe that that's something they really want to do, that they set a date to go.
Yeah.
And then all the prep up to then is really part of your Camino, because you're preparing yourself. And we believe God's preparing you also. People don't just walk the Camino, and our feeling is that they're called to walk the Camino. And so that's sort of what we recommend is just, again, just like the Camino, one foot in front of the other, just get started.
And I think we always recommend that people test all of their gear.
Yes.
Before they go. Really break your shoes in, make sure they're the ones you want to take with you. Put everything in your pack that you think you want to take, and carry that and see how that feels. And you might make some adjustments because we're really all about packing light, and go at your own pace. Like I said, our biggest mistake on that first one was we thought we had to we had to walk that stage, and then we had to walk the stage the next day. And we would say, you just need to listen to your body and walk at a pace that you can keep up and not get injured. Because if you get injured, then your Camino's over, and that's not what you planned. We like to try to coach people and advise people so that they get to finish what they set out to do. So
it's not a competition.
Yeah. And if you just have a certain amount of time, because while Wick was working, we couldn't, well, as we said, we couldn't take the amount of time it would have taken us to walk the whole thing without injury. And so, but people can maybe walk for 2 weeks. A lot of Europeans, as you know, Efrain, will walk the Camino over 3 or 4 year time. Just when they have a week or 10 days, they'll walk that amount. So what we have helped people with is to lay out, if they have 2 weeks, well, what would a 2-week Camino look like? And so we've helped people with that. And so I would say, don't rush and don't try to walk somebody else's Camino. Walk yours.
Very important that you say. And if they wanted to continue doing the Camino, they can go in another occasion.
Yes.
Do the second part or third part if they can split it in 3.
Yes,
that's right.
One of the most gratifying things that happened was there was a family with 3 adult children. The 5 of them wanted to walk, and they had 2 weeks. And so they're good friends of ours. We talked with them about what we would say the route would be. And they said that was, when they got back, they all wanted to video call us. That was great. Now we all want to go back. Well, that's a successful trip.
Yeah.
If you've done something and you felt so successful at it and had such a good experience that you want to go back.
Yeah. Then you see that I would say that that's the problem of the Camino, that when you finish your Camino, you want to do the next one.
It's true.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Helen and Wick, for your time today and for sharing with us all that important information. And so thank you, Pilgrim, for watching us, and keep adding your comments on the comment sections, and tell us what would you like to see on future episodes. That way we will try to do an interview where you find the responses of what you are asking for. Thank you, and buen camino, everyone.
Buen camino.